Hello, this is Noreen Crone-Findlay. I am in love with the Lucet, and so this is going to be the first in a series of video tutorials about working with the Lucet. First of all, I'm just going to share my links. My website right now, sadly, my website was hacked, and so at this point in time, it is pretty minimal. They had to wipe it completely out to get rid of the nasties that the hackers did to it. And so it's just a page of links basically right now, linking to my blog, toddytotscrafts.com, my YouTube video tutorials, which is where we are right now, and my Etsy shop, and my Facebook. So these are all links that you can find me on the web. So what is the Lucet? This is a little Lucet that I designed, a very small one that you can hold in the palm of your hand, tuck in your pocket. And it is the most wonderfully versatile little tool. The Lucet is an ancient tool. People have been using the Lucet, oh my goodness, for millennia. The Vikings certainly did. They used them to make all kinds of wonderful cords. And once you've got the cord making technique down, you will have all kinds of options for making beautiful things like knotted, decorative knotted pieces that you can use to embellish bags, hats, coats, clothing, household accessories, pillows, banners, whatever, and doll making and edges on bags and decorative things. I'm going to move my sign away and I'll just show you a few of the things that you can make with Lucet cords. The Lucet is basically a flat spool knitter. So what you're making is a flat spool knitted cord. It's like having a two-prong spool knitter. So I use Lucet cords to write words onto banners and buntings, and you can use the Lucet cord to outline woven pieces or knitted pieces. You can use it to hold pieces together to make banners or buntings. Lucet cords are wonderful because using a Lucet to make your cord is infinitely faster than knitting I-cord, and it's also faster than spool knitting, and it's just wonderfully fun and portable. You can make necklace cords for lanyards for keys and things. Friendship bracelets. One of my tutorials coming up is going to be on making beaded and charmed friendship bracelets. Now, you can use Lucet cords to embellish bags, pillows, clothing, hats, whatever you can think of. You can use your Lucet cords to do that. I used it to embellish this little woven bag, and although this is spool knitted cord, it's very easy to use your Lucet cord instead, much faster, and feel like anything you can draw with a line, you can draw with your Lucet cord. You can make wonderful dolls and toys. This is one from my spool knitted friendship fairies pattern, which you can get on Etsy. And as we go through these tutorials, I'm going to be showing you more fun things that you can make with your Lucet. So I'm going to get started with the basics of how to use your Lucet. What do you need? What tools do you need when you're using your Lucet? Well, of course, you need to have a Lucet. You'll need scissors. If you're going to fly, Don't take scissors. Take your dental floss with you in your pouch of goodies that your carry-on, and use the little cutting notch on the dental floss to cut the yarn strands. So, scissors or dental floss cutter, a tape measure, because there will be some things that you'll want to know how long you're going to be making that luceted cord. You also need a loop lifter. Again, if you're going to be traveling and flying, buy yourself a plastic craft needle, because you can use it for sewing the cords together or sewing them onto things, but also too they will let you take a plastic craft needle on the airplane, and they would not let you take a chicken skewer or a poultry skewer. They work really well, but again, not if you're traveling. A simple nail works well as a loop lifter, or a small wooden knitting needle. It's great. I have a vintage manicure tool, which I should probably be using on my hands, but instead I use it as a loop lifter. Works great. And nut picks work great too. So those are the tools you need. Now, you can use yarn. You can use thrums if you're a weaver and you have short lengths of thread yarns that are cut off from loom waste. You can use those up. You can use several strands of yarn held together, or one strand just worked on its own. Lucet cords are wonderful when made with hand-spun yarn. They're just gorgeous. And you can also do wonderful lucet cords with t-shirt yarn. This is a t-shirt. I cut it into narrow strips to use as yarn. So tarn is great. And this is just fabric cut into strips. Also works great with the Lucet. The wonderful thing about the Lucet is, even though it's just one tool, you can use any size or thickness of yarn or thread or cloth strip on the Lucet to make any size of cord that you want. And when you use yarns that are patterned with multicolor strands in it, you'll get cords that shift in color, and so that can be really gorgeous. This cord, I put together several strands. I used regular couple of strands of different weights of like knitting worsted sport yarn, and some knitting machine yarn, and some sewing machine thread, and some embroidery floss. So when you combine multiple kinds of strands together, you get a beautifully blended, quite artsy looking cord. And you can include, like with this little this little doll, I used some metallic thread in there too to give it a little bit of luster. So your choices as far as yarn goes are just endless. Okay, so to get yourself started, hold your Lucet in your non-working hand and then place the tail of the yarn down onto the Lucet, and I'm just going to move these things back to make it a little less cluttered visually. Okay, so we pinch the yarn, take the yarn to the back, and come around the left hand peg, go back down in the middle, come up, and go back down. And so what you've done is you've made an 8. Then bring your yarn across above both of those loops. I'm just going to hold it here while I pick up a loop lifting tool here. Now pick up the lower loop of yarn and pass it over the upper loop. And my thumb automatically slid the tail of yarn down the Lucet. And now I'm going to, on the right hand peg, lift the lower loop over the upper loop. Now I'm going to give the yarn from the ball. I'm pinching on the tail of the yarn. I'm pinching it to the lucet, and I'm just going to give it a bit of a tug to tighten it up, and then my thumb just automatically strokes it down and holds it in place. So I tug towards the left, and in one smooth motion I bring the yarn across. I take my middle finger and I catch loosely, not too tightly, I catch the yarn against my index finger, and then I lift the lower over the upper, and my thumb strokes it down to carry it down. I tug. See how it tightens it up? You can change the tension. If you want your luceted cord to be quite loose, you can don't pull too hard when you're taking it across. If you want it very tight, then you'll be quite firm. So let's do that one more time. So we will just continue, thumb strokes down, tug around, lift, lift, and stroke it down, tug, pass, catch at the back, lift, lift, tug. And there you go. In just minutes you can make a wonderful lucet cord. So I want this cord to be about 13 inches long. So I'm going to just turn off the camera and whip myself along here, just zip and zoom, and you can see just in a matter of seconds here I have made inches of cord. So I'm going to just turn off the camera and keep luceting away here, and when it's 13 inches long I will come back and show you how to end your cord. I'm back, and I deliberately made my cord much too long, because sometimes when you're driving in the car, as long as you're the passenger, or sitting chatting with friends, it's lovely to have something that you can be working on that's kind of mindless and just pleasant. And if you just keep going with your lucet and making it just miles long, it's not a problem, because what you'll do is when you decide how long you want it, you'll take your handy dandy little tape measure and you will measure out how much you want. I want my, whoops, sorry, bumped the tripod. I want my cords to be 13 inches long. So I measured it. I've got my thumb on it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip the scissors into just one of the stitches, about 2 or 3 rows up from where I want the end of the cord to be. So you can see I've slipped this needs to move out of the way so it's not so hard to see. I have slipped my scissors into one of the stitches, and now I'm going to snip it. Snip. And so I'm going to now just make sure that I've snipped all the way through. It's a little bit hard to see with the black. Oh, there's a bit more that needed snipping. One more strand. So now I'm going to just tug and work those ends out. Oh, that's why it's not coming out. It wasn't snipped all the way through. More snip. Okay, so now we tug, and as we tug, push this back so it's, whoa, the easel just, the tripod just went kafooey. Okay, so there, it's pulled apart, and there. We now have, you can see there's one stitch that doesn't have an end coming out of it, and one stitch that does. And same thing on the end that's still connected to the cord on the Lucet. So what we need to do is we need to just put our loop lifter in here, or a crochet hook works fine, and pull up that one stitch. The end going through the other stitch is capturing that stitch. So we're halfway there to having a finished cord. So we're going to take that end over and then lift and pull it through, and then tug, and now both ends are secure. So I have the length of luceted cord that I want. Now I have to secure the end of the cord that I snipped the other piece off of. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to see, I've got one end that's already secured by going through, by having the end come through it. Then I have a loose end here, or an open stitch. You know, that's just not quite long enough. So I'm going to pull this end out, and now the yarn end is coming through this stitch, so it's secured. So I take the open stitch, slip it onto my loop lifter, take the end over, and bring the end through. Give it a tug, and this end is secure. So this means you can cut your end any length you want it to be. What if you don't think that you've worked your cord long enough, but you want to use your Lucet for a different color of thread? Well, that's easy. Take a pin and just lift your stitches off your Lucet, and then you can pin it to your ball of yarn, and your Lucet cord is ready and waiting to get started again. So that's how you can end or pause your cord. So that is the basic, that's cord making 101. And I'm going to do more things that you can do with your Lucet cord, and then come back to you with more wonderful luceting. See you soon. Bye for now, and enjoy your Lucet. I just want to show you another way of ending off your cord, your luceted cord. If you snip your end, then take a darning needle or craft needle and slip the point of the needle up into, that one's just not wanting to go, into the first loop, and then the second loop, and then pull up on the end a little, and take the end through the eye of the needle. To do that most easily, fold your end over the needle, and then push the folded end through the hole of the needle. If you try pushing the end of the yarn through, it'll usually go splay out and make you crazy. So now you've got your threaded end in the eye of the needle, Your 2 stitches are on the needle. Pull them through, tug, and you are cast off. Let me show you how to put, let me show you how to put your stitches back on after you have parked them on a safety pin. Rain bubble there. I've slipped the 2 stitches off of the safety pin, and now I'm just going to put both of those stitches back on. And I can either, if I hadn't cut my yarn, I could keep on spool knitting, which is just great. But what if I want to, finish this off now? Let me show you again about the way that we end up with just yarn finishing one of the loops and then doing through the remaining loop. What we do is we've cut our yarn, we then will pull the yarn end through the right hand loop and it pops off, and so that loop is captured. Then we're going to take it around the left hand peg, lift the lower loop over the upper. Now just pull. I can lift that out of there and pull my end through. Both ends are cast off. So there you have 3 ways of finishing your end. The tug from a snipped end, the lift off with the needle, and the pull through one loop and pass through the third. So there you have awesome ways of ending your lucet cord. So happy luceting, enjoy, and I'm on to make some more video tutorials for the lucet for you.